You're listening to the Decor8 podcast with Patrick Ali and Chad Poole.
He just put his headphones in. I don't think he could hear how loud
That's
you are.
perfect. Now, Rob, you're out. Jason's in
Jason,
you're in. Production.
Forget driving trains.
Perfect. Quit driving trains. You're doing production now.
Marine engineer, will be a sound engineer.
That's it. Well, we'll just hop into it then. What's going on? Mallory from GSG's hanging out with us today.
Hey guys.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. We just had lunch down the road.
Where'd you guys go?
BJ's.
To BJ's.
Okay.
And now I'm full and I want to take a nap.
Oh, well, this is going to be an entertaining podcast.
Yeah. Really glad to be here.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
sleep
thanks for
through the whole
saving
thing.
your best stuff.
Yeah, right. No, but I'm excited to have you on because obviously one of the big, big reasons that I had you on is you're, part of one of our best partnerships that we have at GSG. So
Definitely the best partnership.
Oh, yeah. Don't undersell it, buddy.
Yeah, right. But it's really cool to have you on, so thanks for hanging out with us. And, just for anybody out there, too, before we start the podcast, I just want to make sure that we mention that we're on the website now. So
yes.
After Dave's episode, we're officially on the website. We got some cool characters made and stuff, so thanks to Chris for that.
Those.
We when he walked in here, I'm like, dude, you realize we're wearing the same things that are
I was going to ask, is this your
completely
uniform?
unintentional.
It's just the uniform. Yeah,
Completely unintentional. But it's what it is. So.
I like it.
But thank you, Chris, for making those.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, Keith, for all the hard work to get us on the website. Hopefully that drives a different audience to it for those that don't have all the social media platforms that you plug at the end that I'm not privy to.
And it's just a lot. I don't have to remember them anymore.
You started with Dave. I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave.
That's true.
True.
But no, anyways, let's kind of hop into it here because I'm happy to have you on, but I want to talk before we really get into the episode a little bit more because we got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about. Let's just kind of take a quick background on GSG, how the company started, exactly what you do there, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, great. So GSG, we were actually started as Texas Sign Supply back in 1950.
Okay.
And my grandfather was one of the three founding men that started the company. And then we had Texas Screen Supply, and then Neo as well. So 3 different companies. And then when my dad he was president for a while, and then when he took over and became the CEO, he combined it into one company, Graphic Solutions, and that was in January of 2001. So coming up on 20 years. He's done a great job. We now have 9 locations.
Wow.
I think when he first started taking it over, I think there was 3 or 4 at that time. So definitely done a great job.
2001, there was 3 or 4.
2001, yeah. Then we have added Austin, Baton Rouge, some, and now we're up north. So Cincinnati, Minnesota, Milwaukee.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Growing, he's done a great job. I get to work with both my brothers and one sister-in-law. So
is that a good or a bad thing?
I was going to say.
Well, we're in different states, so maybe.
That works.
No, we're actually in different segments. All 3 of us are very different, and we bring different aspects to the company.
Yeah.
So I think it's good with my 2 older brothers. And then my one sister-in-law is the credit manager. So
nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I might
she
need
does a great job.
Money.
So that's Payton's mom. We'll talk about Payton's story in a little bit. But so both her parents work for GSG. And it's actually really fun.
Yeah.
So you guys are very family-oriented.
We're very family-oriented.
Now, when you guys were growing up, were you involved in the business? Was your dad working there since you were a young kid?
Forever. Okay. He's worked there, I think since he was 19 or 20.
Okay.
So he's always worked there. He didn't really want us to work there. He wanted us to go find something else, find our own thing. Jared and Brandon, though, have worked there since they were 15, 16 in the warehouse. Okay. My dad's a big person on work your way up.
That's what I was going to ask.
So
working straight from the warehouse and then kind of building your way through to the top of the company and actually running it. I think it's smart.
That's how you learn. That's for sure.
For sure. So I was the only one who did not work at GSG out of college. So I tried at 16. It lasted a day till he told me when I should have played day 2. I mean, 16 in the summertime, 9 a.m. It's really early.
Right.
I'll give you that one. Yeah.
So I actually got my undergraduate in restaurant hotel management. So I did catering, sales and marketing for a catering company for a while, and then came on board just part-time to help with a little bit, one project that led into, I did outside screen sales, and then I ran our Tulsa office before I took on the role that I have now. And during that time, I also went and got my master's in supply chain management. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
So did you, as you obviously gradually started taking on more and more and more responsibility, at first was it just kind of I need a job, we have our family business, I know that I can get something right now to get me going? Or was it just, randomly, hey, I kicked ass at this, so now I'm doing more?
It was kind of like, I thought I was going to be a great stay-at-home mom. Well, day one, I called my dad, and I was like, I am not good at this. Like, this is just not my calling.
Yeah.
I love being a mom, but I need to work. And I love working in my career. And he said, hey, I've got this one project with new customers. Just come on part-time, see how it goes.
Try it out, yeah.
And it's funny, at the time, that's been almost 8 years ago, we were redoing our website and working with he's our VP now, Rodney, and I said, we should have a hobby tab on our website because this heat transfer is going to keep going. And he goes, your dad's going to kick my ass if I put a hobby tab on our website. He said, I don't know if this is going to grow like it's going. Heat transfer, we have organically grown it because we've always been in the commercial sign industry. Right. So with that, you have a lot of the PSV, car wraps, all of that type of adhesive vinyl. So we just naturally had the heat transfer as well for screen printers, for jerseys, stuff like that. And it just kind of grew. And it just makes me laugh now looking back. I'm like, shouldn't we have had that? And he's like, oh, my gosh. So,
yeah. You won that argument.
I know.
That's for sure.
So I've always loved heat transfer. So that's kind of how I begged to have this position.
So then what is your role now morph into?
So I'm the vinyl decorating segment manager. So I'm over, anything with the heat transfer. I do a lot with resellers. I know a lot of people listening, probably crafters and stuff, they buy from a reseller. So I help that with them getting started and continuing to grow their business. And then any of the smaller format, like smaller format die sub and anything really in that vinyl decorating kind of segment for our company.
Yeah.
Before we go further, I have to ask you because you asked a question real quick and you jumped over. Where'd you graduate from? You were going to say.
My undergraduate from Texas Tech University, and then
Corpus Christi, correct?
Lubbock.
Lubbock. I'm sorry. What's Corpus Christi? A&M?
Texas A&M Corpus Christi,
okay.
actually.
Yeah.
But my master's is from Texas A&M College Station.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm an Aggie.
Awesome.
Nice.
So, yeah, we've had actually, I think our 9th and 10th person at GSG is going through. It's a engineering program in supply chain management.
Oh, that's really cool.
So GSG sent 2 people through together every other year. So it's been
very cool.
That's
pretty
unique.
exciting, yeah. It's a great program.
Is it, what are the credentials to get into that type of program, do you know? Or is it just you kind of sign up and?
No, you have to apply. I mean, it's a master's in engineering from Texas A&M is a huge engineering.
Sure.
It's a great program. And it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about the actual program involved. I thought it was like a program through like GSG. I'm like, that's crazy.
Oh, for GSG, you do have to apply. We have people apply, and we want the people that have gone into it. I think 7 out of 8 have been promoted and keep going with the career. And you apply and see kind of we have different credentials of where you are, what you're doing. Do you have time for it? Because it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year program.
Wow.
Yep.
But it definitely helps. I think it taught me a lot about just supply chain in general, just a lot. To get into the program itself, it's not, a lot of programs, it's a great program if you want to go right out of college, but it actually helps having experience. It's almost better for people that have had, real life situations.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Right. No, that's certainly helpful to piggyback off of, and it helps you learn and you understand what you're doing even further while you're doing your education.
No.
It seems like more companies are sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No.
It seems like more companies are doing that as we get further and further, is offering like tuition reimbursement.
Yeah.
Different types of programs to further your career, but it also helps the company. And
Yeah.
It's just it's a really cool thing that I think is happening.
It goes back to the original thought is that I'd rather take somebody fresh and train them my way and let them learn my way. That's a perfect way to do it. So once they're done with the program, can they choose a location of GSG to go work? Like,
well, a lot are already like with our company. So they're already in a role and they want to continue to grow more. You know, it teaches you all aspects of the supply chain and running a company. You know, from financials to like tracking your inventory and different types. And you have a big case study and you go overseas actually for a trip and really I got to go to Singapore. It was pretty awesome.
That's
So,
cool.
and we had a great case study. It's just like hands-on learning. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's really good.
So, with your current role, you grew up in Texas, correct?
Yes.
And you're in Michigan now.
Yeah.
What brought you to Michigan?
This guy to the right of me.
That guy who's off camera, I see him. Patrick and I see him. We've met him. We had a very
He's
interesting
my imaginary
conversation.
husband here.
We had a very interesting conversation before you walked in.
Yeah.
All good things. But how do you like Michigan? And how long ago did you move up here?
Well, so it's been a year and a half, but I grew up in Texas, went to Lubbock, then lived in Houston, went to Louisiana, and then moved to Oklahoma. Like I said, I ran that branch, and I actually met him at a trade show in Chicago.
Nice.
Oh.
And, you know, it was just kind of weird timing, didn't know, whatever, and we did long distance, and then he conned me into moving up here about a year and a half ago. I had a great first winter. Michigan summers are unbelievable. I can't even explain it to anybody.
It's a pretty hot one this year.
Well, I mean, growing up in Texas, it's not really. I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's funny. Michiganders are just as snobby as Texas people. It's just not as well known.
I'll take
Okay.
that. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, like, Texas, we're so proud.
Yeah.
Very
Michigan
proud.
is just as bad.
I was watching a show the other day. I forget what it was, but it was a sitcom. It was a good show, but they said something like someone was talking to somebody else, and they were in Texas, Lubbock, wherever, and someone said, "In the name of Texas," and I'm like, you guys love Texas so much to say like in the name of like, you would never hear like in the name of Michigan. I look down at you, whatever. But like that the passion is there for sure. Now we're passionate about losing sports teams.
Yes.
And we like our fall and our hunting and stuff like that. But yeah, there's certainly a different culture from Texas to Michigan. I've spent a lot of time down in Texas. I've got a couple of friends down there and taught a few classes and had a couple customers down there. So I love the area. And if I had to relocate, I'd probably go down there. But what was the biggest culture difference between the two? And are you still adapting? Do you like it here? You know, do you want to go back home someday? Are you going to try to convince this guy to go back or what?
I don't know that we'll ever go back to Texas. I don't know. You know, we have a lot of kids. So once they're all out of the house, I think we definitely go south. I don't know exactly where, but yes, we love Texas. Definitely, there's some things that I'm adapting to, like take your shoes off here as soon as you go into someone's house, and you do that in the South.
Huge on that.
And it's like, well,
like,
just
what are
make
you
yourself
doing?
at home, weirdo. Like, why are you just taking your shoes off? So that's a little weird. Even my parents came to visit not long ago, and my dad's like, God, I forget that every time.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Funny.
I do
it's just
too.
a little weird.
It's so much that there's people that have signs at their house like, please take your shoes off, to remind people.
I'm
like, that's
see, I don't really. It doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
My wife is a big proponent of take your shoes off, and I'm like,
this guy.
I'm in a rush or whatever, and I walk in, literally just to walk in to grab like keys. I forgot keys, right? And she hears the
Untie them, retie them.
take your shoes.
It's 5 feet.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I want to get back into Texas too, because GSG, you host a golf outing every year, and right now is right around that golf outing time. But unfortunately, with COVID and stuff, we can't have it. But kind of explain the reason behind the golf classic, and then also, you know, I want to obviously put all of that, make sure we put all that in the description of how to donate and stuff too.
Okay.
And how Patrick and I can be on the team next year.
Yeah.
Well,
tell Brett and Dave, y'all are out.
Well, listen, Brett.
We heard about your golf game last year. No, I'm kidding.
Like Brett got a cool polo this year.
Yeah, everyone that unfortunately we had to cancel due to COVID. Because it's a great event. We do, for everyone that signs up, we do an event the night before. We have usually a local country artist come in and play some songs. We all just hang out, have a good time, and then the next day do the tournament. So everyone that came last year, we wanted them to know, like, we're still doing it next year. We appreciate it. And just sent a polo to everybody that played last year.
That's nice.
That's awesome.
So.
And just explain what the golf outing is and the obviously the purpose behind the golf outing.
So my grandfather was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it is, I want to say, the number 2 killer in America, actually, is pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
Under heart disease, I believe. I could be wrong. No, don't quote me on that. But it's not talked about because I think it's like only 5% survive past the first year. So there's a lot of survivors and a lot of other cancers that are able to get out there and talk about their story, and it's awesome. They can raise money and awareness. And pancreatic cancer it's scary. It comes on really quick. We found out about my grandfather, and within a year he'd passed away. So PanCan is a local in Texas that does pancreatic cancer research. So we donate it to pancreatic cancer, to PanCan.
Yeah.
So this year would have been our 21st. Last year was our 20th, I believe, if I'm getting this right. So we like to make it I know, I'm going to get it wrong. And everybody's gonna be like, you don't even know.
You don't even know. Yeah.
But it's such a fun event. I love it. I got to play for the first time in it last year because Lucas, calling you out, he quit and didn't want to keep playing. So I got to jump in on the back and play. So I was pretty excited. I grew up playing golf. Otherwise, I ride around with my mom, and I joke that we're like the mayors. We get to go say hi to everybody and talk to everyone. It's
Make sure they're not cheating.
Oh, they cheat for
Everybody
sure.
cheats
I
when
would
you're
call
golfing.
out the person who I think did.
We golfed with Brett a few times.
You can buy mulligans. We'll make money for PanCan any way we can.
You gotta buy them. Don't just use
he would lose some money because that dude is whatever.
But it's it's awesome. PanCan is a great organization. It's been affected by so many people throughout our industry. Yeah. Even, unfortunately, one of our great sales guys, his mom passed away from it. So it's, it's crazy how often it's out there, and we just really like to
it's cool that you give so much. I mean, obviously, like we talked about, before we did this podcast, unfortunately, Payton's not feeling too well, so we're not bringing her on here, but we'll reschedule that. But I mean, even the Payton Strong, like the Payton Pink, just having something there to draw not only attention to it, because I think that's super important, but also to help, who helped you. So that's really cool that you guys are doing that and donating to it.
Yeah, and when we talk about Be the Match, that's one of the things is if you can't donate, we get it. Sign up, though. Like, let's help save somebody's life. So.
100%. Well, let's actually get into that, too. I mean, one of the big reasons that we wanted to obviously do the podcast was Brett had let me know about Payton's story, probably a few weeks ago, right before we talked. And as soon as he told me about it, and then I learned about the Easy Weed color, and I'm new. Okay, I don't know everything yet. I learned about the Easy Weed color.
You, Joe, right? No,
I learned about the Easy Weed color, and I realized that Joe did the shirt. I was like, I want to put that on. We had it on Beatrice before, but this is Frank. This is now Frank, and he's all tatted up. But I wanted to keep this up here because I think it's super important. So I want to kind of talk about, obviously, Payton's story, which we can get into more, on a later episode when we have her on. But just kind of talk a little bit about, the basis of, obviously Payton's story, and then Be the Match and how we can, obviously help.
So even though GSG is a family company, my dad has always taught us business is business. Yes, it's personal. Yes, we are very close. We have an amazing team at GSG. But when we're sitting around at our family ranch, we're not sitting there talking about GSG.
Right.
Like family time is family time.
Yeah.
And he's been, I wouldn't say cautious, but not one that just goes out and talks about our family all the time, or that, that we all work there or anything. He's pretty tough on all of us. So that's just not his style. So when Payton got sick, it was really hard on our family. We are very blessed. We have a great family, and that just hit hard. Even though, my mom's gone through a hard time heart-wise, none of that is like a child getting sick, and it just is heartbreaking. Yeah. So when we first started talking about doing this Payton Pink, an Easy Weed color, custom Easy Weed color, I didn't really know how he's going to react, because it's highlighting it. And so I said, well, what does Payton think? And Payton's like, anything that could save a life like mine. She's like, I love it. I'll do, whatever. And it was a hard age, just 12 when she found out.
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine.
No, so it was tough. And, highlighting it this way. And last year we sold T-shirts that 100% of the proceeds went to Be the Match. And we had people like Lon Winters. He's a graphic designer and consultant with Graphic Elephants and the Screen World designed the shirts for us. We had a T-shirt company donated the shirts, and everybody, M&R was involved, Siser involved tremendously through it all, and so everybody just put together just to donate for it, and it was awesome. Raised a lot of money and a lot of awareness besides the, like I said, the financial part. So Be the Match is you just log in, they'll send you a kit. You can donate to them if you want. Otherwise, it's free of charge. They'll send it to you, swab your mouth, send it back, and you're on the registry. So,
cool.
And this is to, if I'm correct, it's for stem cell matching? Okay.
So Payton had aplastic anemia.
Okay.
And when we do it with Payton and then her mom, Stephanie, we'll kind of get into her story. So aplastic anemia, the only way after doing a couple of things to save her life was a stem cell transplant. And her donor actually was out of Europe. So it was
wow.
kind of sweet.
So Be the Match reaches that many people, huh?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, it's awesome. But like I said, you just sign up and then...
Is it bethematch.org? Do you know? Okay.
bethematch.org.
We'll make sure we put it. I want to make sure that we put everything on the link too in the description.
No, we'll I will do that. We'll do it live. How about that?
I would do that.
We'll do it live.
Do you want to for real?
Yeah.
Register live? Okay. I'm good with that for
No,
sure.
I'm gonna swab your mouth and you're
Swab
gonna.
it.
Okay, wait a minute.
I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Listen,
right
you
now,
can
I would
swab your own
say
mouth.
COVID. I don't know if you're going to get
That's right.
swab face mask.
We actually do, and actually that's a really good point for people that are watching. They're probably like, yeah, where's the masks and everything?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows at home, we check each other every day. So.
Right. Well, and we're mildly a socially distant room, anyways. It looks a lot
We had a
bigger.
mask on walking in here.
Right. It looks a lot bigger on camera than it is.
We do testing, or not, but we do temperature checks. We go through all the proper channels we need to. So that's why no masks. But actually, thank you for bringing that up because I never thought about that.
But with and something that I want kind of your take on it. When everybody finds out that obviously there's this issue, there's a situation going on with Payton. I mean, what's like the first, not to get too far into it. So if there's stuff you don't want to talk about, that's fine. But what's the first reaction from everybody? Obviously, you're upset, you're sad, you're pissed, right? But that's kind of your time now to be a family,
Oh, I definitely think it brought us all together more as a family. We have a family ranch that we all say is our happy place. And just to go out there, watch the sunset out there, hang out together, it kind of just brought us all, life's not, it's too short. You know? Let's slow down every now and then. I mean, of course, my dad is successful. He's a fixer, right? So he's like, all right, how do I fix this? Like, what's the solution? Let's go. He will give me a hard time for saying this. He used to always say ROR, reasons or results. Like,
I like
don't tell me the problem, tell me how you're going to fix it. So that's how that was the hardest part is, you have, there isn't an answer immediately and nothing's very fast and it's lots of tests and stuff like that. So very scary. And my sister-in-law and brother did an amazing job. They have 3 other kiddos at home. So the way they balanced it, she's super mom anyway. Like,
that's gotta be super.
Works from home, 4 kids, and her house is always clean. I'm like, God, you're really showing me up. Can you throw something on the ground before I walk in?
You start going in there and tearing your stuff out.
I know. I'm like,
she wears her shoes in there.
She wears her shoes in it. It's still cleaner than my house.
Stomps all over.
And her laundry's done. Like, what's happening?
Well, I'm just gonna say this, and I'm not trying to get anybody in the room sitting next to you in trouble, but I understand that there's random, crates and packages that show up at the house, is what I was told. And you guys are running out of room for all of these random machines and stuff. So.
That UPS driver and FedEx driver are horrible. They go to the wrong house. So.
You almost have to have a sign out. It's mine. It's my package.
They've actually gotten so comfortable with us. We're on first name basis, and they just go right to the garage. Like,
That's
just
awesome.
Inside the garage.
They know where they're going.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
Did they give you a birthday card for real? Oh my god!
No.
I was gonna say that's flowers.
Just flowers.
That's awesome. This episode of the Decor8 podcast is brought to you by Siser North America. Siser is the world leader in heat transfer and pressure sensitive vinyl, and I gotta say, guys, that Siser products are simply unmatched. If you want to find out more about Siser North America, simply go into your browser and type in www.caesarna.com or download the mobile app. They got a mobile app, dude. Download the mobile app, hit the drop-down menu, hit Find a Distributor, so you can find out where you can find Siser products today. Stephanie and Payton are hanging out with us here. How's it going?
Good. We're good.
Good. I see
Awesome.
Mallory down there, too. We got to do these things remote, so it's always, like, awkward of, like, what screen do I pay attention to?
Yep.
I know. And then you got to remember, no matter what, like, your face is always on there. So.
Right.
It's the triangle of wisdom. You're just kind of...
The triangle of wisdom. I like that. So, like I said before when we just were prepping really quick for this, is that You know, one of the big reasons why we brought GSG on in general is just because, you know, I love GSG. I've gotten to work with them at shows and stuff like that. So it's been fun to build that relationship, especially being so new in this industry for me. Everybody's been so welcoming. But a lot of the reason why, too, is because Payton, I wanted to talk about your story a little bit more. And, you know, not only did I want to talk about your story, but I want to talk about, you know, now how you're dealing with just everyday life. But you got kind of a big thing right now. You're dealing with school, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How's that going? Are you doing virtual or are you going into school?
I'm doing virtual, so it's not too hard. But,
Okay. All right. How's that different from being in school right now?
I haven't been to school since like elementary.
Okay. So you're used to it then, right?
Yeah, so.
Then that works.
All good.
We need to give a lesson to all the other kids out here. My kids are both of them are in school, but the schools might be switching to virtual here in the next couple of weeks. So it's like, I don't know, like how I even deal with. I'm not a teacher by any means. I'm not a teacher, so it's gonna be tough. But
I think the biggest difference for Michigan kids that go to school is, well, virtual school, I should say now, is no more snow days. So. SOL there.
Yeah, they're always at home with you.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But Payton, just to kind of get us started here, I want to know, obviously from your perspective and your mom's perspective here, just kind of take us from start to finish. I want to know about your story. You know, obviously we've kind of prefaced, you know, your story a little bit, but just take us kind of from start to finish of you.
So I was
12. You just turned 12. I like Payne's commentary in the background.
That's all right.
You just turned 12.
That's okay.
Yeah, I just turned 12, and then I just had this weird like rash all over my body, and we didn't do anything about it for like 2 months. But
Yeah.
I know, sounds like great parenting, right?
Well, I mean, it's typical.
It wasn't really a rash though. It was like these spots. They're
they're under the skin. It's when your
really?
blood can't like
like the
work properly, so it's trying to show you that it can't.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened for like 2 months, and then
she'd come home from school and say, "These spots are moving," and I'm like, "What?" So she'd go to school and they'd be on her hands, and she'd come home and they'd be on her legs, and I was like, "That's strange."
Yeah, that's not an allergy.
it's like a little magic trick.
Yeah.
Your own personal magic. Well, as a parent too, it's like one of those things. Even waiting a little bit is you always do like the week tester, right? It's always like 2 or 3 days. You're like, this, we'll just see over the course of the next couple of days. We'll monitor it. That's always my approach to everything.
Well,
Amanda's
I mean,
like, we gotta go get it.
Me too. Like, so my daughter had a rash the other day. I was taking her to swim lessons, and I'm like, you know, if the maternal instincts kick in, you're like, oh, I'm freaking out, and my wife's like, it's just allergies or whatever, and then it goes away. But in your case, it was obviously something more serious, and the fact that it was moving and stuff like that had to be a little alarming. So.
Yeah, and then
She came home from school on a Monday and had told us, or I'm sorry, like the week before,
she
she
was
was
couldn't walk down a hallway without
really?
getting.
winded, and then she would go upstairs. Her bedroom's upstairs, and she would be really winded going upstairs. And I was like, that's strange.
Yeah.
Like almost like she had ran like 5 miles,
Wow.
but she had literally walked 20 steps.
Right.
And so we didn't think anything of it. And then we had a birthday party for her brothers, and that weekend my mother-in-law was there, and Mark Granberry's wife was there, and she's a nurse practitioner, and she saw her arms, and she's like, yeah, we need to call the doctor. I think it's some sort of virus, or
Yeah, it might be something more.
so we called on February 5th. We took her in the afternoon to the doctor after school, and had her blood drawn. They do a blood panel, and we had to wait. The next day, she got home from school, and the doctor called her pediatrician and said, Ms. Granberry, how close are you to Texas Children's? And I said, well, I live in, where I live. And I said, probably about an hour. And he's like, well, we need you to pack your bags, pack Peyton's bags, expect to stay overnight. She needs to go to Texas Children's now. And I was like, okay. And I'm a pretty calm person for the most part. And I was like, okay, can you tell me what you think it is? Because I want to know. I don't want to be sugar-coated. he goes, well, it's one of three things. It's either a virus, it's cancer, leukemia, or it's a blood disease. And he's like, I really don't know what it is. If I had to guess, I would think it was leukemia because of her, symptoms, but they can be other diseases also. So he called the emergency room, got Payton a room in the emergency room at Texas Children's. My husband just happened to be home. I'm not even sure why.
That sounds bad.
Yeah, don't bother that. So he and Payton went downtown, and Payne, her brother, and then her other two, she had her twin brothers were 2 at the time, had just turned 2. And so I stayed here with them while they got settled down there. This is pre-COVID, so everyone was welcome anywhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then we were waiting for them to get settled, and we all went down. And it was about 8 o'clock at night. And actually, I remember the only person I remember texting that night was Mallory. I don't remember because my mother-in-law knew we were there only because I believe Payton FaceTimed her. And
she's a little bit of a worrier.
Yeah, she's a warrior. God love her. But Payton said, or Payton 1 contacted FaceTime my mother-in-law before Payton and my husband Brandon left and told her that Payton's really sick. She's in the hospital. And I was like, don't tell her that.
Yeah.
No, it's not so much about telling, it's the delivery. That's hey, she's in the hospital. Oh, cool. So now everybody can freak out. Really? Right, before we even know anything.
So so she knew. We were trying to keep it, we're pretty private people, but we didn't want to tell anybody until we knew exactly what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
Just have to text 8,000 people. So Payton was in a room with her 3 brothers. You can imagine it was just completely
mayhem.
So it's not quiet. But the doctor came in and said, can I speak to you parents together? We're going to have a child life specialist come in and hang out with your children. I'm like, sayonara, have fun.
Yeah.
And we went into a room, and when I went in that room, my husband and I were walking down that hall, and I was like, this is what happens in the show ER.
Yeah.
I'm saying my age now, but like you picture going down the hall to this consulting room, and we sat down, and it was a wonderful female doctor, and she goes, do you know what we're dealing with? And we were both like, no, we were told it could be leukemia. And she goes, well, all signs are pointing to leukemia. So we were like, okay, what does that mean? And she's like, you are very calm. And my husband is very calm, but anyway, but I was like, well, her pediatrician already told us. We already have been a little bit forewarned, so we knew. And she's like, okay. So she explained to us that she's going to have to be admitted. And what we were dealing with is the reason Payton had the spots on her arms and legs and her overall body. She had no platelets in her blood. So platelets are like the brick to a house. They protect the interior. So when you don't have platelets, your blood comes up to the skin. And at this point, her platelets were at 0. So she had no platelets. Her blood was at 0. She literally, and she was extremely pale. Yeah. She's always very fair-skinned child anyway, but more so. But we didn't even, there were a lot of things that we didn't catch on to.
Yeah. And not to stop you though, just to clarify, what is like a normal platelet count?
A normal platelet count
6,000 to 10,000.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And the normal blood is anything over 7. 7 point anything. The average is about 7.
0 12.
Yeah, hers was.
Wow.
So she had no blood, no platelets, which explained a lot because in the summer of 2017, we took her to the emergency room a lot for stomach aches that we couldn't figure out what was going on, and they think that was the start of it.
Okay.
So fast forward to, we spent the night in the hospital that night.
A bone marrow bio.
Bone marrow. So that night she got 2 bags of blood, a bag of platelets, maybe 2 bags of platelets. So
yeah, because
it was like Disneyland. Texas Children's is the best hospital for child care. They came by with carts of goodies, and Payton was so excited to miss school, and and being a place that she was spoiled rotten. She got to see the therapy dogs come by, so she was very very well taken care of. We really didn't know what we were dealing with, and being 12, we had to talk to her about what it could be.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to actually get Peyton's take on that. When you kind of first heard about all this stuff going on, I mean, at such a young age, did you really understand what was happening?
It didn't hit me till like December of last year what had really happened.
Really?
Like, yeah, because it was very like surreal and like just kind of felt like, and I genuinely thought it was a virus. Like I didn't think anything of it.
Sure.
Because you're so young and naive, you don't think the worst of things or
Right.
the reality of things.
Yeah.
So I thought it's just a virus. I'll get over it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then
She never cried, she never really questioned anything. The first night she got in trouble
You
in
just
the
said she was
hospital.
at the Disneyland hospital, so what are you gonna do?
That's right. She got in trouble the first night at like 3 a.m. because this was like at 1 a.m. we got admitted, and at 3 a.m. we left the room. She was connected to a pole, but we walked out of the room to go get ice or something. They have a snack bar with any snack you can think of in it. So we went down there to get her something to eat, and the nurse was like, "I thought y'all left. You can't leave your room without telling us." And we were like, "Oh gosh, here we go. We've already started trouble in the hospital." And Peyton's such a rule follower. She was like, "Oh no, and I was like, "It's okay."
Yeah.
So in when did it finally kind of kick in for you? You know that obviously this was going on. When did it really? Because I imagine the news initially is kind of it. I don't want to say it goes over your head, but at the first time you think everything's normal, right? You think everything is fine. When did it finally sink in for you as a parent to know that okay, there's something serious going on?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
It was whenever she went. So that morning, the following morning, she went back for a bone marrow biopsy. It was just me at the hospital because her dad was at home with all the boys, and I was in this waiting room, and I'm like thinking in the back of my head, like this is not like how are we gonna do this? We live an hour from this hospital. We both have full-time jobs.
Right.
We don't have family that lives here. Clearly people do it every day.
Yeah.
That was what was going through my head. And then the reality hit whenever I was in this waiting room waiting for her to get her bone marrow biopsy or hip bone biopsy. I saw this mom over in this corner just crying. And I was like, that's me. Like that's what reality we're living in. And like all these people in this waiting room were all waiting for these children to come out of these procedures to tell them if there's, something was serious, something was mild. So it really didn't hit me. I don't think it hit me then that it was serious, and then I was a puddly mess in that waiting room by myself. Kind of like this aha light moment that it was real. But she came out, and then after that we had to wait. That was the hard part. The hardest part of her whole entire illness was we did a lot of waiting, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for later when we were seeing if I could get a bone marrow transplant.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Because I got a thing called ATG first, and that didn't work. It's where they administer a drug, but it's only temporary.
Okay.
It's only a temporary fix. A long-term fix is a bone marrow transplant, but we wanted to see if that worked, and it didn't. And so they gave me an urgent.
Lots of waiting though. Lots of they told us that this whole because aplastic so that fast forward to when you were diagnosed.
I'm just
That's okay. We could fast forward. I get it.
So she had the bone marrow biopsy. They released us to go home, and we went home. I'll never forget when we left the hospital. It was dark in Texas Children's. You're in the middle of Houston's medical center, so there's like 17 hospitals. And it is like a maze of mousetrap. I had no idea where I was going.
Oh, really?
Now I could walk it blindly. Could you? But I almost hit this nurse leaving. And I'll never forget. I was like, oh my gosh, that could be the nurse that saved Peyton's life. Like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Together. But it was such this like out of body experience. Nothing around me was like really moving other than what we were going through. It was a very big pause in life. And we left on a Thursday. And she was told she couldn't go back to school, at least until.
Like,
yeah. You thought that was a great thing. So she was told she couldn't go back to school, and then she had to come back on Tuesday because they did blood work after the hip bone biopsy. They did extra blood work, and then when we go back to the on the hematology oncology to tell us of what diagnosis she had. So they did. Sorry, after the hip bone biopsy, they said all factors are pointing away from leukemia. She does not have these leukemia cells, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is the best news.
Glimpse of hope, yeah.
And then we were told it was either a virus, like a blood virus, like from an illness, or a disease called aplastic anemia, which we had never heard of.
Right.
So we got released to go home, and on Tuesday they would tell us for sure they needed time for those things to grow and do more research. We went home and spent time with family, and
who's the first person? I know you said that you texted or called Mallory first, but who's the first person that you talked to? Really like had a deep conversation about this with, other than obviously I know probably your husband, but like within the family. Because the cool thing is about GSG that I love is that everybody's family there. You know what I mean? We even found out the other day that the voiceover for the video, has been there forever. So he's basically family at this point. You know what I mean?
Steve Anderson.
Yeah, Steve Anderson. So he's basically family at this point. But who's the first person that you contacted about it?
I really, I'm trying to think. It was such a blur. We had so many. I know Mallory talked to me a lot. She was reaching out. They sent all kinds of goodies.
Mm-hmm.
There was more text.
Was it your sister? I was thinking it was Suzanne or somebody.
My sister came down. My sister's a teacher, and she was in Austin, and she actually left her convention to come help with the boys because they're boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're a little crazy, so we knew we were, even though I told her not to come. My family all lives in Dallas as well, and so we were kind of at a standstill. But I know I talked to Mallory the night that it happened. I remember texting her walking outside the hospital ER, telling Mallory it's not good. That's all I could tell her, and that's what the nurse had told us. So from there, we texted with all of Brandon's siblings, my siblings, all of my in-law, the in-laws. For me, I was the main communicator. No surprise.
That's shocking. Brandon would send like a meme or
Yeah.
That's his way to communicate.
Yeah.
Oh, she's okay. Yeah. She's great. My face. But it was Brandon and I aren't overly dramatic people, so we didn't want to read into it, and we didn't want to say more. It was just kind of weird because we had to open up our lives to people and tell them every detail so that they could know how to pray for our family and get engaged. And then I believe Brandon was in communication more with people from GSG than I was in the beginning, and then it was communicated throughout GSG, I believe, by our HR team and things like that. But I don't really recall.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be tough too. Knowing that not only is your child going through something, but you're going through something as a parent and having to communicate this constantly and probably texts all the time of how's it going and this and that. And I'm sure you have your up and down days, and you kind of just want to throw the phone against the wall and say, I'll get back to you later or whatever. I could imagine that would be very difficult too.
Yeah, it was kind of odd because we didn't start a Facebook group. We were, looking back, you always have, I wish I would have done that differently, but we were very private about it. People knew about it. Excuse me. But Facebook I would update, but I wouldn't update every little thing that she went through.
Right.
All of our family knew, all of our close friends knew, but it's kind of weird to let the outside world in.
Right.
But having the support of people was, I remember my mother-in-law telling me that, because I don't like to take anyone's help at all, and I never have, and this was a true test to that because I had to depend on people, and she was like, let people gift to you.
Yeah.
That's their gift to you, is that they can help. So that was a really big blessing. People, just checking on us and sending messages or verses to help Payton and contacting Payton or sending little gift or notes in the mail. We still get notes in the mail from this one lady that still sends us these sweet notes like every 6 months, and just that overall support that you never want to walk these waters, but when you do, you have no idea the support that you get, and that makes it so humble.
The positivity behind that, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to fast forward just a little bit into what the next steps were you know, obviously you're going through this right now. You're in and out of hospitals trying to figure everything out. What's the next steps? It's obviously to find a donor, correct?
So she was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, and the standard, if you do not, so all of our family members, all of her 3 brothers and my husband and I, all got tested to see if we were a match for her. So they want a 10 out of 10 match. They want a 10 out of 10 match. That's the closest they want if they can get it. So Payne did the test. Crawford and Callan, her little brothers, her dad Brandon, and I all did this blood test to see what % of match we were to her. None of us were her match. You only have a 20 of a parent is a 5 out of 10 match always.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough to make it where it would have been a beneficial donor. Her brothers had a 25% chance of being a match. We found out, I believe it was about 3 days later, she was in a case study. And so in the case study, it was encouraged that she'd be in a case study because my husband and I both agreed, and Payton, we consulted Payton on every decision we made, that if we could help somebody else through this journey and help find more cures or different avenues for treatment, we wanted to do that. So she agreed to join this case study. And in the case study, it's like a lottery. They put your name in, and you either got chosen for a bone marrow transplant or you got chosen for ATG, which is horse protein, what they put in the body to kind of kill off your body's current blood and then reset it. Excuse me. So in the case study, so if one of her brothers had been a match, they would have done a bone marrow transplant immediately. Because none of them were a match, we were in the case study, we agreed to do the case study. So she was chosen for ATG, which is the horse protein. Yeah. It was a 7-day process. Really no side effects at all from her. And she was in ICU for 24 hours. Then she went down to like the second level below ICU, then down to a regular room. Really just getting IV infused to see if they could reset her body to say, okay, start working and start producing these good cells rather than these bad cells, killing off these T.
Sure.
So then after that, we were told it would be 6 months. We had to wait 6 months to see if she would be responsive to the ATG. And normally after ATG, your body slowly starts increasing its own blood, creating its own platelets. Yeah. Her body actually went backwards. She required more blood, more platelets. Was very, very sick, in and out of the hospital, had fevers.
So after 3 months,
2 months.
2 months, they decided that a bone marrow transplant was.
In May. So in March, she was diagnosed in February. March, we did the ATG. And in May, we had a meeting with her doctors and team. And we just said, we don't see any changes. Is it supposed to be, I mean, it's been almost 60 days. Is this normal? And they're like, no. You know, we're seeing the same things you are. We need to start her for a bone marrow transplant. So they started with, they researched the bone marrow registry. And in February, whenever she was first diagnosed, they automatically run the bone marrow registry to see if there's any matches, 100% matches. And at that time, there was 1 match. Or no, I'm sorry, 3.
Okay.
But because she was in this case study and the standard form of care is ATG, she couldn't even get that. So she failed ATG essentially. So they reran the registry the end of May, and she had 6 donors, 6 matches, perfect matches. There's 6 random strangers in this world that match her DNA more than her father and I and her brother.
That's crazy.
So he, the Texas Children's works with Be the Match. That's their #1 donor program. And they reach out to Be the Match, and the next step would be that the donors do a next step of testing. They do in the registry through the mouth swab, and the next step is that they get notified that they have a match and that they need to do this next step. Of that next step, only 1 of the 6 showed up for testing. And we were like, whoa, it's like, depending on one person that you don't even know, that may not even live in our country, was quite scary to know that, you know, we had really high hopes in humanity that this person would come through and give.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next step for that person after they did the first round or second round of testing is they fly them to Texas Children's for this testing. And all we knew was that the donor was not from the United States. We had no idea where we knew it was a guy. Men are better donors than women. They tend to have, because women have children and hormones, it kind of, I guess, doesn't make
we have to be good for something here, you know. I feel like I'm like just for one thing. I'll take one. Yeah.
When you're, I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick though. For the Be the Match program, do you know, and we talked to Mallory a little bit about this on our last episode, but do you know if the gentleman that found out that was your match, one of your matches, do they get a background on Payton and everything that she's going through, or it's just, hey, we've got a match, are you willing to donate? Do you guys know that information?
Oh. No. I just learned something.
I was curious. It's interesting to me.
They don't obviously know her name. They know that she's a girl age 12 where she lives, obviously.
Okay. So just kind of like just some generic information.
Generic information, yeah. But for some reason, they protect the donor more than they do the recipient. Because yeah, that's right. You're all right. They did know a lot about her, but we didn't know anything. We were prying and
right.
No problem asking a lot of questions. And I was like, okay, can you come back?
We call her Oprah, by the way. Just so you know, her nickname is Oprah. Like, when I first started dating Jason, Payton was actually in the hospital, so they were the first ones to meet him in our family. And I was like, well, you get to start out with Payton, who's the best, but then you get Oprah. Anything, if you were hiding anything from me, it's coming out.
That's awesome.
So I asked the doctors, like, are you sure you can't tell us? Like, can I bribe you? Can I bring you some chips and salsa?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
food, something.
Caesar, heat material, press material.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, we have to protect the donor. And we didn't really know where his location was until a year. And at a year.
And then it's weird. They give you like, at a year, they give you like the general area. So they said he's from Europe. And then at 2 years, they give you the like exact not
where
country.
Yeah.
Country.
So Europe has different rules than the United States does. So if the donor had been from the United States, they could have contacted Payton at the year marker before.
Okay.
It's all up to the donor. But in the UK, where this our wonderful person is from, it's 2 years. They require 2 years of no communication whatsoever from the to the recipient. And then after that, we can reach out to the donor and say, hey, you saved this girl's life. He's now breathing because of you and healthy because of you. Can you meet you? I want to come to eat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I was curious about that too, because I've seen stories obviously of folks that have had, heart transplants, or maybe they've had eye transplant or whatever. They have the opportunity at some point in time, it's an opportunity to meet the person or the person's family that was able to help them. So I was really curious to know that if you had any contact or knew the person now, or if that's something like in the future that you may want to pursue, is to know obviously who this person is. But obviously I can tell, that's something that seems like it interests you.
Definitely. He said I can send them a letter, but I decided not to because I couldn't figure out like what to say, because I was like, what do you say? Like, thanks?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
It's kind of a big shoe to fill.
Yeah, so I'd just rather meet the person in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And that's okay.
But the cool thing is, regardless of if you ever get the chance to meet that person or that person gets a chance to meet you, there's always going to be some type of bond, that you have with that person. And it's like one of those things that you can, look across the room at somebody. If you do something funny behind your parents' back, you look across the room at your brother, you're like, we know what we got away with. You know what I mean? We know what we got to do, right? So it's a cool thing that you get to carry with you always. It's an unfortunate circumstance of why, but between you and that person, they know that they helped somebody, and that that somebody came through for you in a way that unfortunately other people weren't able to do, for other reasons.
Definitely.
As her aunt, though, I did volunteer to go to Europe with her anytime.
There you go.
We can come too. We can do a podcast.
Yeah,
we can do a live podcast.
Yeah, can I get an invite here?
Yeah. You can see Caesar, Italy while we're over in that part of the world.
Yeah. And then we can send it to
the
the actual Oprah and we can get some major exposure.
No.
There you go.
So, take us on to, so you've had the opportunity, you've gotten, the bone marrow transplant done. Basically now, what is life like for you? I know that Mallory said they obviously weren't feeling too good the other day when we recorded, so I imagine that there's still some, things that come up here and there, but, overall, how do you feel?
I usually feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Just always tired, but I've always been like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you hear from Mallory that on the podcast right before we started, I was like, hey, we just got done eating lunch and I'm getting kind of tired, so I'm here with you. I'm here with you.
Stephanie doesn't know how to nap. Peyton and I, we can nap.
There you go.
I'm not a napper either.
We've got this down.
They would always give her,
can,
she got blood
Mhm.
or any type of blood product. She had reactions to blood products.
Mhm.
They had never had a patient have every reaction, and she had every reaction the first night.
Really?
Benadryl before she got blood or platelets, and it would knock her out. It was 50 milligrams of Benadryl every time.
So you were causing problems in the hospital then, huh?
Very, but she loves to sleep. So there's a thing called graft versus host, is what your body.
It's a natural reaction to having a bone transplant. So the inside of your body is different than the outside. So I have a male's DNA. So if you take my blood, you can tell gender by blood. So my blood is a male's blood.
Hmm.
You
And so
have two different. Yeah, female and male.
So it normally presents itself in the skin or any like opening, like your nose, your mouth, like anything like that, because it's a gateway for infections. And so your skin normally reacts because the DNA in your skin is different than in your blood.
Oh, wow.
So the way mine reacted was my stomach. And so that's why I don't feel good most of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Her stomach
I
hurts.
have gastroparesis, which is basically like have to be on a really like strict.
Strict
I have
diet.
to take something every time before I eat, like 30
Mhm.
minutes before, because if I don't, I will throw it up.
You just get sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So-
So everybody presents it differently, but
Yeah.
So after you were after you got the marrow transplant, when was that? You said, was that last year or the year before?
2 years ago.
2 years
in
ago.
August.
So was there a long recovery time from that before you felt to where you're at now, or was it pretty immediate to where you were feeling pretty good?
Really wasn't too long. Like a month.
She was in the hospital for a month, and she was pretty sick in the hospital because of. So
Chemo was.
chemo was pretty bad. She had 4 days of chemo, I'm sorry, and then 1 day of full body radiation. The full body radiation is really what did a number on her
Yeah.
internally. Most of the time, when somebody has cancer, their radiation is focused on like a certain area or a certain tumor, because they were trying to eradicate everything in
All
her
the
body.
blood,
Yeah.
Find zero. It was full body. It was kind of a pretty weird experience. She had to sit still in this big tube or on this
30
table for 30 minutes. But that can cause a lot of problems post transplant, right after the transplant. So in the hospital, she had something called the BK virus, which is the bladder kidney virus, where her bladder and kidney were very, very angry at her. So that was the only thing in the hospital that was very bad. She was on a lot of pain medicine for it and slept quite a bit, but she didn't need any blood. Hasn't gotten any blood or any platelets since August 15th of 2018.
That
That's
is
great.
amazing.
Well, and
That's awesome.
what's super important is be the match. We talked about it. Chad and I we were going to do some research and how we can at least register to be donors too, because I think this is a super important cause. Like I said early on, as soon as I heard about it, I just thought it was like so, as somebody that has an immune deficiency disease myself, it spoke to me. You know what I mean? So, and that's something I don't really ever talk about, but I just think it's really important. So we're gonna figure out how we get registered, and whatever we have to do to obviously join this cause, because I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
a lot of people think it's like so really invasive, which it's really not. Like the donor, if you're picked, it's 1 in 400 chance in your lifetime to be picked as a donor.
Yeah.
So it's pretty slim that you're going to get picked. But if you do the donate to become a registrant on the bone marrow registry, all it is a swab of your mouth, and
Yeah.
all they fit. So then, if somebody was picked as a donor, it's literally a blood draw. They sit there. It depends. Payton received a stem cell transplant, so. Bone marrow transplant, they actually go into your hip bone like they did for her hip bone biopsy and pull the bone marrow directly. But
Which that doesn't sound fun at all, by the way.
I heard it's painful.
The way you're explaining it now, it doesn't sound as fun. The look on your face.
Actually, too bad. The way they described it was a corkscrew going in my hip, so
That's
that
a little
sounded really painful. But it was only about like an hour recovery. Like it only hurt for about 20-30 minutes, and then it just feels like you have like a little scratch on your hip. And
Oh,
so
really?
it's not
Well, you're a tough kid. That might hurt me a little bit more than. I mean,
Chad was running away from bees the other day when we were outside.
yeah,
So
I don't like bees. I don't like
let's just clarify.
Payton also falls a lot. Let's be honest. She's had to recover from a lot of bruises in her life.
Well, and she's
She
been
might
through
have
a
gotten it
lot
from
for
me and her
sure.
dad.
You know, so.
No.
Did we hit on Payton Pink quite a bit with Mallory, or do we want to talk about that?
Yeah,
more?
I'd like to get in just a little bit more. I know we got some, but just for the sake of making sure we can plug everything in, we'll just kind of come from right here. Hold on. That's my cut to make sure I've edited it. Talk about GSG and the Payton Pink. Obviously there's custom easy weed color that Siser and GSG have collabed on, but talk about that a little bit.
You want me to talk? Me? Sure, you can talk.
You want me to say?
Or Mallory,
You want me to go,
anyone,
Payton?
yeah, anyone's fine.
So, like Stephanie said, and I said in the first part of the podcast, our family is pretty private. So this was when this idea first came about. It wasn't just like, "Hey, Steph, Payton, is this okay?" It was also Mark, Brandon. Like, it's a lot of people, and this it's getting the story out there. And honestly, Steph and Brandon said it's up to Payton. Let's see what Payton says about it. And Payton, her response actually was, if we can get Be the Match out there more, I would love it. Because if we could save somebody else's life. And, with partnering with Siser and, like I said, a lot of other people, the proceeds from Payton Pink are going to Be the Match. But even if you can't buy, Payton Pink, or you can't donate to Be the Match, like Steph said, signing up to be a donor to be on the registry is unbelievably easy. I mean, you sign up online, they mail it to you, you swab your mouth, and then send it right back in. So it's, there's lots of ways to help without having to financially do it. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
so the Payton Pink color, Payton is very crafty and into anything artsy and anything to make a mess and drive Stephanie crazy. She's always creative and doing lots of stuff. So we just thought this color was a fun way to kind of bring it back around and help, again, spread the word about Be the Match and using Payton's story to do it, but really just trying to make sure people know about Be the Match. Stephanie, I did not do like the Facebook page, didn't do GoFundMe, anything. All she told anybody is just, if you want to do anything to help our family, donate to Be the Match, become a registrant, like just do anything like that. So
Well, that's really
that's
cool.
kind of with this color, what we really wanted to just kind of bring awareness, because I knew nothing about Be the Match until everything was Payton. So
Yeah.
I didn't either.
And
until we
and to
discussed it.
clarify, just to clarify, Chad and I just got our own landing page on a website. You've had a pretty cool landing page for a while now, so that's
Yeah, you're definitely a leg ahead of us there.
Well,
Real quick before we wrap up, though, I know we want to talk about how you're doing now, and it sounds like you're doing pretty well. Do you guys have a lot of like follow-up appointments you need to go to? How's life been since this crazy pandemic? Do you guys got to be super careful? Like, is that?
They're actually wanting to move my appointments to once a year.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
She was going every 3 days a week, and it's an hour drive back and forth. One thing she was adamant about when she was in the hospital after her transplant. The average, most patients are 30, 45 days in the hospital after transplant. And then you have follow-up appointments every other day. So every 3 days a week until they release you. Then you go 2 days a week. Then you go to 1 day a week. Then you go to once every other week. So it's a process, and it's been a long process of appointments. But she was adamant that she did not want to stay in an apartment by the hospital after the transplant. And so it's really all based on miles that you live from the hospital. And the max that they will let you live is 60 miles. And I think we live like 57 miles.
Oh, wow.
So
you made the cut.
If we don't live 57 miles, we're going to somehow backtrack our address and make us live closer.
Sure.
She wanted to be home, and she was doing so well. They did approve her. So in the beginning, she was going 3 days a week to the appointments. The appointments were very tedious, all day. Literally, from if she had an appointment started at 8:30, we wouldn't get home until 4 or 5. Then she went to 2 day a week, then 1 day a week. Then right for the last year, she's been going once a month.
Mainly just to get phlebotomy.
Yeah. So now she has too much blood in her body.
Oh.
So she has the opposite problem. So her blood now, because she's had so many transfusions, there's a lot of iron. There's too much iron in her blood, and so it can damage her liver. And so those numbers are really high. So they're trying to eliminate the blood from damaging her liver. So she goes in and she sees her transplant team, and then she actually gets blood taken out, which is such a turn of events because we much blood put in.
Talk about full circle.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
The big part of why we've realized how important blood donation is, on top of being a bone marrow registrant. Donating blood and platelets is really, really an easy thing for people to do, but it's definitely necessary in cancer and hematology oncology patients. So now she goes to the doctor once a month, just for a simple, how you doing? Here are your numbers.
Yep.
And her liver just wants to act up, but other than her liver, and then she'll get to go to what they call maintenance, right? They call it the 1 year appointments. They call them like, or one.
And they do it the day before on my rebirthday. It's the day I got my transplant. So they do it the day before that.
So you got 2 birthdays now. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Wait, do you get gifts on both birthdays though?
Well,
do what?
Do you get presents on both birthdays?
Well, yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, if you're a kid and you have 2 birthdays.
That's a silver lining right there. You get two cool birthdays.
She always said she wanted a summer birthday because her birthday's in January.
Oh, yep.
Well, I really didn't expect for us to go about it this way, but we'll take it for
right. Well, that's actually a good question. Now you've opened up more questions for me. When's your birthday in January?
It is January 26th.
Okay, so you're a little bit further away from Christmas. I have my daughter's is the 14th of December, and I'm always struggling between, because they're so close to Christmas time. Like, do we go big on the birthday or do we go big on Christmas time? You know.
Mine's the day after. Yeah, mine's the day
really?
after. And my son Jake and Ashley. Jake's is Christmas Day, and Ashley's is the 23rd. So when I met Jake,
wow.
December is going to be horrible for you.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
So it's actually karma that Stephanie has to celebrate 2 birthdays, because when I was growing up,
you just had
being the baby and the only girl,
combined.
We celebrated my half birthday.
Yeah.
So I celebrated my half birthday every year with my friends, and Stephanie's like, I would never do that for our kids.
Yeah. I never even thought about that, to be honest with you.
Well, what parent's gonna let their kids come over the day after Christmas?
Well, no, certainly understandable, and it's kind of hard to justify. Well, it's Christmas morning, and the next day's your birthday.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a struggle the last 3 years, but we're figuring it out, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but
just don't wrap her presents in anything Christmas.
Well, what I do is I start in January. I just start taking toys away and hiding them, and then rewrapping them.
That is Stephanie 101.
I just hide them and give them away, though. I don't give them back.
Yeah, she gives them away.
Yep.
Like, I show up and I come home and all these stuff packed in my kid's suitcase. I'm like, Aunt Nene said I can take it.
That's awesome. Well, so
that she got through her journey, which is a big part of cancer patients and hematology oncology patients, is when you're a kid, they treat you like royalty. So they're called beads of courage. And so anytime she was poked, had a procedure or anything, she got a bead.
Wow.
And so she has a lot of beads, and actually we stopped getting them because she said she wanted them to go to smaller kids because and she already knows what the symbolism is of them. But this is a story about GSG. So she has all these beads of courage, and they're really kind of hard to store because they're just beads. Mm-hmm. So Janet Johnson that works at GSG, her husband made Payton this really cool storage container out of wood.
Oh, that's awesome. That's all wood?
All wood's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And this was a gift to Payton from a fellow employee of GSG's husband that makes these because their child had cancer as well, and they'd experienced courage. And so they make these. It's he and I think 2 or 3 other woodworkers make these jars for the beads of courage in children's hospitals. So
that's awesome.
That was a really cool gift that Payton got from a GSG person. That's
awesome.
She keeps up in her room as like a memento of what she's been through, and she can look at the beads and
and just like the having that story already, it's just something that you could take on with you forever, and it's something tangible now that kind of makes it, kind of ties everything in together, I feel like. So that's cool. So really quick, I know that I just want to make sure I get it in here too. I know that we got it when Mallory was in here. How do we donate to be the match or join the registry?
If you want just the easiest way to go about it, if you go to paytonpink.com,
okay, perfect.
It has links to everything.
Awesome.
So where you can obviously see the Easy Weed, but links to donate right there to be the match. And then also a link to their website if you want to go and register. So,
perfect.
Or it's bethematch.org. But paytonpink.com has Payton's story and I think a little video that Payton made for this year after her rebirthday, and then, like I said, all the other info.
No. She's like, don't watch it.
That video took so many tries. I mean, it was like
we started at 8:00 at night and finished at 11.
It was so funny, but we kept trying the video, and she's like dying laughing, or she'd say mumble on her words. So at one point, to be funny, we weren't going to submit this, but Payton was talking, like moving her mouth, and I was talking, saying what she was. I was like, this is what you're supposed to say. But
well, as two personalities on social media, and Mallory understands this too, being on social media, sometimes, Payton, it takes a lot of takes to make all this happen. So
it took us about 2 hours for about a 10-minute ad read the other day because we just couldn't get through it.
It's hard. My first video I did for GSG, I think it took like 8 hours at home.
Yeah.
For a 1.5-minute video, and now I'm like, let's go, it's fine.
Yeah. Now you're like, let's just get it over with.
No one cares. I got it down now.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate, again, Stephanie and Payton, for you both coming on and hanging out with us and allowing us to share your story. And Mallory, I really appreciate you coming in studio the other day to do the first half and then, do the second half via Zoom.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you guys very much again for coming on. Anything else you guys want to talk about while we have the platform?
Or plug.
Got everything out of there?
I think we're good. Hi, Payne.
Payne's still in the back there.
Hey, buddy. We see
Thanks,
you too.
Payne, for joining it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, again, PaytonPink.com, correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And that's where you can see you can purchase or see the Payton Pink. Siser and GSG had teamed up to create that custom color. You can also find all of the links to be the match, to see where you can register, and to be a donor and or donate to be the match. It's a super, super important story, so please go on and at least see the story, donate, register. It's very, very simple, and it could definitely potentially change somebody's life forever. Do you got anything else, man?
No. Again, just want to say thank you for coming on. Very happy you were able to share your story with us and our platform and anything we can do to help. Continued prayer sent your way that everything continues to go well for you guys, and great story of generosity from family and people alike as well. So kudos to all involved, and thank you guys very much.
Thank y'all so much. It's been fun to walk down memory lane and be on this side of the recovery rather than in the middle of it or the beginning.
Well, this is something I have to have it made, but Payton, I'm gonna give you something from our studio. Is you're gonna get the first official the Decor8 podcast key, which means that you can come in here anytime and interrupt us and be a part of our stuff. Okay.
Thank you.
Just
so
mess
much.
with his stuff first.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always my stuff.
That just means you're coming to Michigan, so that makes me happy.
That's it. Alrighty, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye, guys.